Many people dream of having lots of money and expensive things, like fancy cars and big houses. But for some people, having these things is hard because they don't have a lot of money. Even though they might not have much money, some people still try to look rich. They do this by spending money they don't really have. And sometimes they even forget about important things like saving money for emergencies. In this video, we're going to talk about why some people who don't have much money still try to look rich. We'll talk about different ways they do this, like buying expensive things they can't really afford, or renting fancy stuff just for show. We'll also talk about why it's important to be careful with money and to save up for important things. One of the reasons people try to look rich is because they want to feel important or successful. They might think that having expensive things will make other people like them more. But the truth is, trying to look rich when you're not can actually cause a lot of problems. It can lead to spending too much money, getting into debt, and not having enough money for important things like emergencies or the future. That's why it's important to learn about things like investments, savings, emergency funds, and frugal living. These are all ways to make the most of the money you have and to plan for the future. By learning how to manage money wisely and save money up for emergencies, people can avoid the pitfalls of trying to look rich and instead build a secure future for themselves, where they are financially free. Number 1. Overspending on luxury items. Some people who don't have a lot of money still try to buy expensive things to make themselves look rich. They might use credit cards to buy things they can't afford, or spend money on fancy clothes and accessories instead of important stuff like food or rent. This is called overspending on luxury items. Buying expensive things might make them feel good for a little while, but it can cause big problems later on. They might end up owing a lot of money that they can't pay back, which can lead to stress and even more money problems. Instead of buying expensive things they can't afford, it's important for people to focus on saving money for things they really need, and to think carefully before spending money on things they don't need. Number 2. Flashy but cheap accessories. Some people who want to look rich but don't have much money might buy things that look expensive, but are actually cheap. These things might look fancy, like designer clothes or accessories, but they're not the real deal. They might buy knockoff brands or fake designer labels to make it seem like they have expensive taste. Buying flashy but cheap accessories can be tempting because they're cheaper than the real thing. But just like overspending on luxury items, it can cause problems in the long run. These cheap accessories might not last very long, and they can make it harder to save money for important things. Instead of trying to impress others with fake luxury items, it's better to focus on being smart with money. People can still look stylish and put together without spending a lot of money on things they don't really need. Number 3. Renting luxury items. Some people who can't afford to buy expensive things might rent them instead. This means they pay money to borrow things like fancy clothes, jewelry, or even cars for a short time. It's like borrowing a friend's stuff, but in this case, they're borrowing from a company that rents out luxury items. Renting luxury items can seem like a good idea because it's cheaper than buying them outright. People can enjoy the feeling of having expensive things without the big price tag. However, it's important to remember that renting still costs money, and it can add up over time. While renting luxury items might be fun for a special occasion, it's not a sustainable way to manage money in the long run. Instead of spending money on temporary luxuries, it's better to focus on saving up for things that will last or investing in experiences that bring long-term happiness. Number 4. Credit card splurging. Credit card splurging is when people use their credit cards to buy a lot of things they don't really need, especially expensive items, just to show off or feel good. Imagine you have a magic card that lets you take home anything you want from the store without paying cash right then. It sounds great, right? But here's the catch. Every time you use this magic card, the amount you have to pay back later keeps growing, especially if you can't pay it all back at once. Over time, this can add up to a big pile of debt. Some people get caught in this trap because they want to look rich or keep up with their friends. They might buy fancy gadgets, designer clothes, or go on lavish trips, all on credit. But when the bill comes, it's a lot more than they can afford, leading to stress and financial problems. It's like borrowing happiness from tomorrow. But tomorrow comes with a big bill. Number 5. High-end tech gadgets. High-end tech gadgets are the latest and coolest electronic devices that often come with a big price tag. Imagine having the newest smartphone, the biggest smart TV, or the latest gaming console. These gadgets are packed with the newest features and look super sleek. Everyone loves to have the latest technology to play with, show to friends, or just to make life easier and more fun. However, constantly chasing the newest tech can get expensive. Some people buy these fancy gadgets not just because they love technology, but because they want to impress others. They think having the latest gadgets will make them look successful or cool. But this habit can lead to spending a lot of money. sometimes more than what they can afford. It's like being on a never-ending treadmill, always running after the next big thing, but never really catching up. It's important to think about whether you really need the newest gadget, or if you're just trying to keep up appearances. Number 6, living beyond means. Some people spend more money than they actually have, trying to live a lifestyle that looks rich. This means they buy things they can't afford, like expensive clothes, gadgets, or going out to fancy restaurants all the time. Living beyond your means might make you feel good temporarily, but it can cause big problems later on. If you're spending more money than you make, you might end up in debt. Debt means you owe money to other people, and you have to pay them back with interest, which is extra money on top of what you borrowed. Instead of trying to keep up with a lifestyle that you can't afford, it's important to live within your means. That means spending less money than you make and saving up for things you really want, instead of buying them right away. By being smart with your money, you can avoid the stress and worry that come with living beyond your means. Number 7, excessive grooming. Excessive grooming is when people spend a lot of time and money on their appearance to look perfect and wealthy. This could mean going to the most expensive hair salons, getting the fanciest nail treatments, or wearing only the top brands of makeup. It's like they're trying to polish every part of themselves to shine like a star. The idea behind this is to make a big impression on others. They hope that by looking their best, people will think they are successful and have a lot of money. While it's great to take care of yourself and want to look nice, doing too much can be a problem. It can cost a lot of money, sometimes more than what some people can afford. And it can make others feel like they have to do the same to fit in or be accepted. It's important to remember that being genuine and comfortable in your own skin is more valuable than any expensive treatment or brand name clothes. True confidence comes from who you are, not just how you look. Number 8, social media flaunting. Social media flaunting is when people post pictures and stories on apps like Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter to show off the best parts of their life, especially the expensive or fancy things they have or do. It's like putting on a show for friends and strangers, where the main goal is to make your life look as amazing and glamorous as possible. People might share photos of luxury vacations, fancy dinners, or brand new gadgets, even if they can't really afford them. This can make others feel like they need to do the same to keep up, creating a cycle where everyone is trying to outdo each other with more impressive posts. But the truth is, these posts often don't tell the whole story. Behind the scenes, people might be struggling or going into debt just to look rich online. It's important to remember that social media is like a highlight reel, showing only the best moments and not the everyday reality. Number 9, name dropping. Name dropping is when people mention famous or important people they know or have met, trying to impress others. It's like saying, "I know someone special, so I'm special too." Imagine someone casually mentioning they had lunch with a celebrity or a big boss at a fancy company, even if it was just a brief meeting or not a big deal. They might do this in conversations, on social media, or at events to make themselves look more important or connected than they really are. The idea is to make others think they're part of an exclusive group or have a glamorous life. But often, it's more about creating an image than sharing a genuine experience. While it's natural to feel proud of meeting someone well-known, constantly talking about it can make it seem like someone is trying too hard to be seen as important. It's good to remember that real friendships and connections are about more than just names. They're about genuine relationships and experiences. Number 10, fake real estate signs. Fake real estate signs are when people pretend they own a house or property in a fancy area, even though they don't. They might take pictures with a sold sign in front of a big, expensive house or post about buying a new home in a luxurious neighborhood on social media. The idea is to make it look like they have a lot of money and can afford to live in places where only very wealthy people can. This is done to impress friends, followers, or anyone who sees their posts. They hope others will think they are more successful or richer than they actually are. But in reality, they might not own any property at all, or they could be living somewhere much more modest. It's like wearing a costume to look like someone you're not. While it might get some attention or admiration in the short term, it's not honest. True respect and self-worth come from being real about who you are and what you have, not from pretending to be something you're not.